Serious people who have killed in self-defense. What's the thing that haunts you the most? Shared this before, but I was staying with my grandfather while my parents were out of state and I woke up to a noise coming from upstairs main floor. I was in the basement and just knew it wasn't my grandfather. He has hearing damage from Vietnam and it didn't wake him up, but there was banging around and heavy footsteps. I was in the room with the gun cabinet, so I grabbed a shotgun and went to check it out. When I got to the top of the stairs, I just saw a guy in the living room going through stuff, so I pressed the safety and said he needed to leave. He turned around and saw my unthreatening, scared as shit 14-year-old self and told me to just go back downstairs and mind my business. So I repeated myself. He turned around and started walking towards me with something in his hand, so I fired. At this point my grandpa is very awake and comes out of his room and just tells me to look away and call the police. Thankfully, due to all the factors of him being a repeat offender, having a weapon, my age, and CASA laws, it didn't go any further than the police coming and asking me questions. It messed me up for a while, and I still think about it often. But I got over it and realized that as unfortunate as it was, I didn't have a whole lot of options. The way his body crumpled and the gurgling sounds he made. I had been stabbed, managed to get the knife from him and stabbed him with it. Being that close and having the feeling of the knife in my hand piercing his flesh made it so much worse. Feels like stabbing an orange. A tiny bit of resistance, then just sliding in. I would have rather had a gun. For anyone wondering, I was being jumped by him and 3 others. I guess he got carried away in the violence and stabbed me. The others ran away when I stabbed him. They were charged in his death. A relative of mine went to church every day for months because he was convinced he was going to hell for defending his home from a deranged man holding a rifle. He knew he did what he had to do, but damn, it took him a while to realize that he was not a bad person after the fact. I knew an older Vietnamese guy who ran a gas station in northeastern NC. A friend of mine's cousins tried to rob the place. He killed them both with a shotgun. They were 16 and 17. It made the news all over NC, NVA. From what I heard from people close to him learning how young they were weighed on him heavy, but he also had no choice. They came in with guns and he wanted to go home to his family that night. The idea that maybe not today, but someday in the future that I will be punished for it, not by the court system, but by myself or someone related to them. How close he was. The whole look M in the eyes trope hits way harder when it's not in the movies. This isn't exactly on topic, but my grandpa was a doctor and this was before all the advancements in cancer diagnosis and treatment and whatnot, but they were aware when people were terminally ill. He said they would prescribe patients sleeping pills. Whatever the actual drug was I don't know, but he would say I'm prescribing you this. Only take 2 because if you take 15 you'll never wake up, but then prescribe them 30. The people close to him didn't believe he could be a bad man. Had to leave my hometown because I couldn't get a job or be left alone after doing a couple year in prison for manslaughter. Didn't have $150K for lawyers. He was nice to everyone, but behind closed door was an entire different person. Just a very few people knew. Abused my mom, and I mentally and physically for my entire childhood until one day he actually tried to kill us, but I got him first. I don't know why that day he lost it worse than any other time, and I wonder every day why. And now I developed a bunch of mental and physical health problems. As a combat veteran at 19 years old, I had no problem pulling the trigger on guys that were shooting at us. Now, as a father of a young boy, I find myself thinking about the fact that sometime long before this person was in my crosshairs, he was someone's little boy that was raised by a mom that loved him, and I ended that life journey, and it makes me sad, and I think it always will. My wife's great uncle killed a home invader in the early 70s. He said his only regret was the guy bled out on the porch and stained the wood. I tried so hard to convince him to stop. I was slowing down my truck with my 3 kids in the back seat at a red light. There was an older car in front of me. A man in the car got out like he was pissed about something, which confused me. He was just yelling and waving his hands like I had done something to him. He kept yelling, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," over and over. Then he started coming towards my truck and had a very large knife in his hands, so I unholstered my Glock from my waist, not expecting to use it at all. At first he was just pacing back and forth near my truck like he was amping himself up to do something. But then he started slamming the knife against the back window where my kids were. I yelled over and over to stop or I'd de-shoot him, but he didn't seem to care. He just kept stabbing the window. As soon as he cracked the glass with the knife, I unloaded 3 rounds into him, and he was down pretty quickly. He was DOA when the police got there. Him haunted most by my kids having to experience the feeling of knowing some random man was trying to kill them without reason. Turns out he was loaded up on meth and some strong narcotics and just freaked out. I'm not haunted so much as I just think about the people who probably miss them. The memories and experiences they will never have. It's not neat and tidy, like it is in the movies where everybody has swift moves to hit the right spots. It's a long drawn-out process with pleading and begging, but eventually you realize if they want stop, the situation has to stop. The sounds of the bitter end will be with me forever. That my husband could not pull the trigger. When his heart disease worsened, his physical abilities lessened. He swore to always protect me. When home invaders struck, I grabbed his gun and shot one standing in the bedroom doorway. 2 to the chest as my husband taught me. The others managed to escape but were caught later on. My husband passed away a few weeks later. When I was in Afghanistan, there was an Afghani patrol getting shot up by Taliban. I called in a helicopter gunship that was in the area. The Afghanis brought all the body parts back in the bed of a truck to show off what happened. I never wanted to see that. Interesting how most comments here that don't express extreme regret or losing sleep over it are getting downvoted. If we are to accept the premise of the question, it stands that a lot of the answers will not have regret. If it was truly self-defense, there was no other option. I don't think most people would regret saving their own life. Maybe I'm just messed up, but honestly, nothing. You broke into my house where me and my family stay? No, it ain't gonna happen like that. Any person willing to harm another person's family for money is one of the lowest of the fucking low.